Welcome to Bellefleur Tire Shop Grand Falls Rapids post-game show. It was a big, thrilling victory here tonight. The Grand Falls Rapids beat the Fredericton Red Wings in their first game of the 2025 portion of the regular season. It's a cold night in the rink, I won't lie. Had to throw my jacket on for this one, but man, was this eventful. We talked about how it was going to be an impressive, well, not really an impressive, a high-scoring, physical game. There were some penalties. There were even more goals. And I'm going to talk all about it here right now for you. So it opens up when the Rapids get on the board early, less than 5 minutes into the game. We talked about how that was their Achilles heel all season. And I sound like a broken record by the time, by the time it's all said and done. I know that I sound like a broken record, but it's such an important thing. The Rapids get on the board first. Raphael Denis just jammed this thing home. An absolutely fantastic play to get on the board and just work past their defense, jam the puck past the goalie, make sure that he has absolutely no chance to stop the puck whatsoever. The Rapids would shortly after go up 2-0 when Caleb McDonald, right on the doorstep, pops this one in the back of the net. 2-0 for the Rapids, but less than 5 minutes later, unfortunately, Fredericton would get one back thanks to Sam McFarland. Shortly after that, Rafael Michaud gets his third of the year to bring them to 3-1, and that would be it for the third period, or the first period, rather. The Rapids tack on another goal. In the second period, the Rapids tack on another goal thanks to Jeremy Dastu, his 15th of the year, rather. And this would get the Rapids up 4-1. Now, if you know anything about leads in hockey, especially 4-1 leads, it is the most uncomfortable, most bad luck, crappiest lead in hockey, and this is exactly what happened here. The Red Wings would then go on to score 4 unanswered goals and take the lead 5-4. At this point, I'm pretty sure, and I have to keep it PG here, but I'm pretty sure everybody was crapping themselves watching the result of this game. And man, it was, I won't lie, it was frustrating because seeing them play so well with the lead against Amherst, seeing how well they've played with the lead this year on multiple occasions, it was just crazy. Luckily, though, they were able to tie the game back up. Nick Brennan gets a goal and his first of the game. That was the most irritating period, was that second period there, but they managed to get themselves out of the funk and ended up eventually going on to win the game. So they would remain tied for most of the third period. There were a couple of really crazy penalties. Nothing would come on the power play for either side, though. But then who else? But with 2 minutes left to play in the third period, the captain, Jonah Laird, gets his 20th of the season, and the Rapids would go on to win this game against the Fredericton Red Wings, securing themselves another 2 points, meaning with the loss tonight, Campbellton officially beats the Miramichi Timberwolves, and with the Rapids win tonight, they now sit 11 points out of the playoffs with 21 games left to go in the regular season. So many points left up for grabs and so much time to get things done. This Rapids team, you started to see, especially in the early stages of this game, the confidence was there. They had a little bit of a hiccup in the second period, and it was a couple of bad turnovers. They caught him pinching a little bit, but at the end of the game, it was a 5-4 win, and a 6-5 win, and actually the empty netter as well. I didn't mention Jeremy Dastu got his second of the game, the empty netter. Was a 7-5 win, rather. So that was, you saw the heart, you saw the determination was there. They had a couple of hiccups in the second period, so obviously that was something they wanted to avoid, but you're facing off against a team like Fredericton, who you're trying to stave off in the standings, but at the same time, you're trying to catch up to Miramichi and Campbellton both, and this was a great place to start. They are now 1-0 in 2025 so far. I know it seems like It's a bit much to say, but any win that you can get at the beginning of the year, especially this early into the second half, is a fantastic win in our books. So I want to talk a little bit about Jeremy Dastu here. Ended up scoring 2 goals tonight, had 2 assists. Once again, 4-point game for him. So he had a 4-point game going into the winter break on December 20th, and he comes out getting another 4-point game. That's 8 points in his last 2 games. And again, if you talk about heart and soul, and you talk about the determination, the resilience, the drive, the passion that this line has of McDonald, Laird, and Dastu, it is unfathomable. And yes, I'm using a lot of big words because it's the truth. This team has the potential to do something incredibly special. With so little time left, they have so much opportunity and so much room to get those points and get on the board to get that opportunity to inch closer to the playoffs. And this was a huge, huge step in the right direction here. Going into the next couple of games, like I mentioned, we have the Grand Falls Rapids have a couple of games on the road. They've got the next 4 games on the road. They're in Miramichi to face off against the Timberwolves tomorrow night at the Miramichi Civic Center, 7 o'clock. So that's going to be a game to watch for sure. And that's a game where they've got to start on time as well, because you're trying to catch up to that team in the standings. Now, it's not going to be an easy task, and we know that. But you've got both teams that are playing a back-to-back, right? Both teams have something to prove, right? Miramichi wants to put as much distance between them and the Rapids as humanly possible, and the Rapids want to narrow that gap down to nothing. So if everything were to go right tomorrow, if the Rapids start on time and have that lights-out game like we know that they can have, it's going to be a fantastic game. It always is every time the Grand Falls Rapids play the Miramichi Timberwolves. Doesn't matter if you're home or away. That is a rivalry that is going to go down as one of the biggest rivalries in franchise history. So after that, they take a couple of days off. They are in Pictou County on Thursday, January 9th to face off against the Weeks Crushers. That is going to be an intense game as well. The next night, they have the Truro Bearcats on January 10th, taking a little bit of a Nova Scotia road trip before going back to Fredericton on Sunday, January 12th, where they will round out their 4-game road trip. Takeaways from the game, and there were a couple of really strong points, and there were a couple of really not so strong points. So we'll start off with the not so strong points first, get those out of the way, and then we'll start off with what really went well in this game. So the not so strong points, obviously, I think most of the gripes are going to come from the second period, and it was not necessarily the whole period. It was that 5-minute gap between when those 4 unanswered were scored and Fredericton took the lead. I will say this: there were a couple of times where they were caught just off guard or pinching or in the neutral zone, caused some turnovers, and there were honestly some really, really bad goals to allow. But they ended up just saying, instead of sitting in this, instead of wallowing and letting it affect the rest of the game and potentially losing the game, they stormed back and they tied this game up. So that was one of the bad points. The other one was the lack of discipline I found towards the latter half of the second period. I found that there were just too many more penalties than there should have been. For the most part, the Grand Falls Rapids stayed disciplined. They stayed out of the box, but that second period did not help them out at all. Luckily, there weren't a whole lot of chances for Fredericton to score on the power play. They had, don't get me wrong, they had a couple of really good ones, but again, just failed to score, failed to convert on them, and ultimately 5-on-5 was the way to go in this one. So that's what happened there. Now we're going to move on to some of the good points as well. We talked about how they started on time. They played a full 60 minutes. There was 0 quit in this game. The fans were making noise tonight. Obviously not as loud as we would hope, but there's still lots of time to make some noise during the season. Man, just starting on time. I think that's going to be one of their huge advantages of this game. They did not waver. Scored that first goal, scored the second goal, got on the board up 3-1 after the, or 4-1 after, 3-1 after the first period, my bad. And they carried that momentum up until the end of the game. Now, yeah, there were some hiccups there, but they ended up just with that no-quit attitude. Which brings me to the second point, the absolute no-quit attitude, right? You saw this team, though they were down and out for what felt like 5 minutes, they ended up coming all the way back, winning the game with less than 2 minutes left, and that should just show how much resilience this team has. You backtrack to a few weeks ago when it seemed like they were down and out, right? There was not really much that could be done. This was a huge problem for the Grand Falls Rapids. They were getting outscored. They surrendered that goal in the first minute, and now the Rapids they seem to have this newfound confidence, and it's something that I personally am starting to like. You saw that they had a different swagger in their step a little bit in the game against Amherst on December 20th. They came into the game, and it was the same thing here today. They had that different spring in their step. They had a little bit of extra swagger, some good energy going on before the game, and they stuck with that the entire game. The other thing is your depth came out to play tonight too. Nick Brennan gets on the board, Caleb McDonald gets one, and obviously Jeremy Dastu again had that 4-point night as well. Just getting all four lines rolling was fantastic. Head coach Greg Leland and the assistant coaches Brittany Wright and Jeff Cowan did an amazing job tonight at making sure that their team was firing on all cylinders. You had everybody getting involved in plays, and there was not one single player that I would say that wasn't working their ass off to get this win tonight. Now, with that being said, there is a lot more that we're going to talk about coming up when the next home game comes back. It's January 17th against the Edmundston Blizzard. It's going to be a really hard game, and especially because this could be a potential playoff matchup. And actually, before we move on to that, I want to just take one more thing away from this. The atmosphere tonight, it felt like it was a playoff game, right? Not necessarily in the sense that it was just an all-around crapshoot. The energy just felt different. It felt like it was a rivalry playoff game, and that's exactly what you want to see. Speaking of potential playoff games, you're looking at what could be a potential playoff series. When the Edmundston Blizzard roll back into town on January 17th, it is like we've seen all season long, nothing special. It's the same game that we've seen from these two teams all year, but this one is a little bit more interesting because now you know that the Blizzard are completely ahead in first place in the division, and I don't think anybody's going to catch them, but you could be potentially looking at a playoff series here, especially as the Rapids inch closer to that playoff spot for Miramichi. There is so much to be excited for about that. The best thing that you can do is on that game, flood the arena with green jerseys and make sure that you are cheering loud and proud, because this is only just the beginning for this Grand Falls Rapids squad. They now sit 11 points out of the playoffs with so much time left to go. And with that said, there is nothing that could have gone better tonight at all. Agree? Disagree? Let me know down in the comments. Until then, thank you very much for watching the Bellefleur Tire Shop Grand Falls Rapids post-game show, and we will see you back here on January 17th when the Edmundston Blizzard roll into town to face off against your Grand Falls Rapids in an all-important divisional matchup.